it's a relentless focus on audience and understanding not just what the audience needs, but what the particular publication is trying to do to serve that audience. And so in the case of Entrepreneur is not a magazine that's just about random entrepreneurs. Entrepreneur is a magazine that is ultimately trying to help entrepreneurs through the emotional and problem-solving challenges of entrepreneurship. And we do that by creating a community and showing people smart ways of thinking. I like to think of, if you pick up this magazine, you are calibrating your thinking to how smart entrepreneurs think. And so a story has to contain really smart insights about how somebody solved a problem. And very importantly, people always misunderstand when I say solve a problem, because they think, well, there was no grapefruit flavored seltzer in the world, and so I went to solve the problem. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about inside of the business, the problem inside the business. I was scaling and then I ran out of money. I was trying to do this and then everything fell apart. That's what I'm talking about. If it's a longer story,
you say an operational problem that everyone will have, and therefore it's more.
Yeah, it doesn't have to necessarily be operational, but yes, correct. Something that anybody could read, or most people could read, and they could say, I relate to this, even though it's outside of my industry, and the solution here makes me think about how I could be more clever in my own business.
What would you say is the top similarities, since you bump into a gazillion entrepreneurs? If I may say, a very cliche type of article, what are the top 3 characteristics you see, and stuff that, like you said, people wouldn't think of as an entrepreneurial that really that you notice that that people I don't know, that people wouldn't think of, if that's a fair question.
Huh. That's interesting. Characteristics of entrepreneurs. Yeah, well, I mean, look, the number one thing that I see is that successful entrepreneurs are exceptionally adaptable, right? They just don't seem to care about what happened before. They're not too attached to their own ideas. They want to they have managed to separate the reason that they do something from the individual way in which it's being done. And that gives them this freedom to say, this isn't working, I'll try that. This isn't so good. So why don't we just like run an experiment and do something else? And that's a really powerful skill that most people don't have. I would say also entrepreneurs are, I think that they are in a really good way trapped by their own feelings and ambitions, which is to say, if they could get out of this, they would. Anybody would, right? Because it's a crazy journey and it's hard and everything's on you and things are going to fall apart. And I think that many people would say, this is not for me. I'm going to go find a far easier path. But I think that entrepreneurs are trapped inside of this because it's the only thing that they want to do, and so they have to make it work, which is good, is a good thing. I think a lot of people will say, if I could do anything else, I would do it. But this is what I want to do, and so I will figure it out. And so that's I think that's really good. And then I think that entrepreneurs are also they have, I think all entrepreneurs are stubborn, and I think that the most successful entrepreneurs are stubborn in the right ways, which is to say that they aren't stubborn. You can be stubborn in a very wrong way, which is to say you have an idea and you stick to it regardless of what anybody says. And you know what? If that's not the right idea, you're gonna go, the ship is gonna go down, right? And that's not good stubbornness. But good stubbornness is to say, I think that this is going to work, and we're going to explore every option, and I have done enough work that I can explain to you exactly why this is going to work, and I'm right about it. And now it might take me years to do this, and it might take me a couple failed companies, right? Because there are entrepreneurs who had a good idea, but it took them 3 companies to actually get it right. And that's a kind of crazy stubbornness that is ultimately to their benefit.
And you also have to have the money to live without making money too. When you say stubbornness, I guess finances play.
Well, but you figure out how to make the money. I mean, entrepreneurs are not, there's a subset of people who I think that entrepreneurs are all wealthy people who are able to take risks, and that that's not the case. I've met people I've met so many people who built it from nothing. Yeah, they were living in their car. They were taking massive risks. Obviously, the older you are and the more responsibility you have financially, if you have a family, if you have kids to support, the less risk you're able to take. And so that's when starting something on the side and building a side hustle is good, or finding a partner, or obviously this is why a lot of people go out and get investors. But no, you don't need a giant nest egg to start something. Obviously, it's helpful, but it's certainly not necessary.
Right, but I forgot this product I also made. It's actually sold in Target and Staples. Maybe Staples just pulled it. But in this case, I got bought out early because I couldn't afford to run with it with no money. My partner's a rich guy from Soho who owns real estate there, so he was able to just... Anyway, I didn't mention that little handle case. Whatever. Because I once posted on LinkedIn, it's similar to what you said. I said, you need to know how to be nice. You have to know when to be nice, and you have to know when to be very mean. Yeah. So you say stubborn, I'm saying you have to know when to be very nice, to be very mean. Would you agree with that statement?
No, because I don't think...
What's that mean?
Yeah, because
or whatever the word is. Tough.
You have... uncompromising, maybe. Like, you have to... Yeah, I don't think that you ever have to be mean. But I do think that you have to know when to hold, like when not to give, and then I think it's incumbent upon you to also know how to bring people along. So if you're going to stick to something, then you don't want to be the only person sitting there, right? You want to understand how to bring people along with you, and that means having a vision and an ability to articulate that vision that's so compelling that other people will say, I'm not sure if you're right, but I'm going to. Sorry. What? All right.
No problem.
Yeah, he's home. Yeah. Okay. My wife are dealing with kid stuff. So.
I have 4.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have 2. I can 2. Whew, that is intense. That's very intense. I have half of that, and it's more than I can handle. So yeah, Anyway, point is, I think you have to know when to, as the old song goes, you have to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. But you want to be convincing when you're holding them.
College necessary for founders, yes or no?
No. Could be helpful. Doesn't have to be helpful. I mean, like so many things. Lots of people who went to college, lots of people who didn't.
He's 15 years old. He wants to drop out of school and sell cookies on the corner. What would you tell him?
I mean, I that doesn't sound like a good way to make money. So selling cookies on the corner, no. I suppose if my kid at 15 had a brilliant idea and had started to execute it, and it was making a lot of money, and there just seemed to be no reason for him to do anything. At 15, you should be graduating high school. But like at 18. No, I just got off the phone right now. My call before this one was with an entrepreneur who I'm writing about, who started a restaurant when he was 20 and in college, and the restaurant took off and made a ton of money. And there was just, he quit college. He didn't graduate. There's no reason to, right? Like, he's doing something and it's very successful. He clearly knows what he's doing and he can build off of this success. It's like, why slow that growth just to get a degree that's probably not going to be all that useful anyway?
So would you say business school is not that valuable for helping your business?
No, I would say people have opened businesses without going to business school. Right? Business school can be, like anything, business school could be really valuable. Getting a bachelor's degree could be very valuable, but is it possible to do it without it? Yes. But if you want to choose that path, if you choose that path, I think it could be valuable to you.
Had $200,000 to spend, either you could start a business or put it to a business school. What would you do?
Well, I guess, do I have like a great business idea that just needs $200,000 to get off the ground?
You're saying depending on your situation. If you had one, you would consider just spending.
Yeah, I don't think that. Look, I don't think that any decision that is made or like option that's available is correct for everybody in all circumstances. The world is too complicated for that. So I would say that everything is circumstantial. Absolutely everything is circumstantial.
No, because I find that there's a little bit too much of a herd mentality for college, business school, especially in the entrepreneurial space of parents. Let's see, 150 years ago, there was no business school. Everyone did just fine, So the new invention came with this new, you got to go to school. Oh, you got to go to get an MBA before you do anything, before you breathe. So just interesting to hear your perspective as someone who talks to entrepreneurs all day long. That's it.
Yeah, well, I have, sure.
They rolled off to Europe. They didn't speak English, and they clearly did very well for themselves, right? They couldn't write English, and they started fashion lines and real estate, whatever other stuff they got into.
Sure. Yeah. Right. But just
like coding,
just because,
right? 6 weeks, and boom, they're making whatever money.
Sure. And for some people, that circumstance works just fine. For other people, they should go to school and learn. Just because somebody was successful without something doesn't mean that thing isn't valuable. People got around before cars. I happen to find a car pretty useful, right? It's just the logic doesn't really hold. But I think that there are. Look, I've met people who have started from absolutely no knowledge and built themselves to success, and along the way had to learn a lot and made a lot of mistakes and had to scrap and whatever. And I've met people who went to business school and I met people in business school and then never started a business, of course, but also I met people who went to business school and that's where they met their co-founder and that's where they were able to develop their idea, and then they come out of school and they've got themselves a really functional company. So, again, I think that the good thing about business school, the good thing about anything is that we should embrace building collectively a menu of options. And then people can find the option that works for them.
Well, you could also meet your co-founder if you're a bartender and make money along the way.
Sure.
Right?
You could, but you could also be a bartender and not meet your co-founder, right? Just because something happens in one circumstance doesn't mean it can happen in all circumstances.
I'm just saying, might as well get paid while you find your co-founder as opposed to paying to find your co-founder.
If it works for you, yeah, for sure.
Quickly, do you think someone will know if his project is a waste of time or not? Do you have
it's so
cyclical, whatever the right word is? There's no rules.
I think it's so circumstantial that you couldn't say in 6 months, but because there are some times where people have gone through iterations and it's taken years. But I think that the thing that you should be doing is putting something out into the world, gathering data and responding to that data. And if you're not seeing data that is telling you this is worth continuing to pursue, then it's time to reconsider.
Right. What else? How important is media or PR for a startup? And when do you think it's too early, too late, or when's the perfect time to say, oh, now let me time now. It's time to start pitching stories to every person with any type of magazine, newspaper, TV station in the world, podcasts, etc.
So again, completely circumstantial. There's a guy that I'm now working with and helping him with his startup who has a bonkers brilliant idea, and he could get a lot of press right now. But you know what? He's not to market yet, and that press would do him no good. It just wouldn't be worthwhile. I think that you need to. So I told him, don't tell anybody about this. Hold on. I think that you have to think of press as a tool. And so you need to ask yourself the question, what do I need press for right now? And if you don't have a good answer to that question, then you don't need the press, right? It's not any different from raising money. What do I need money for right now? Possibly the answer is nothing. Possibly the answer is something. You have to go and make in investing, you got to go make that case to an investor. Press, you don't, but you have to make that case to yourself before you go out. So I would say, know what your goal is. Are you trying to move product? Are you trying to grow an audience? Are you trying to build new partnerships? Are you trying to impress investors? Whatever the case is, that's going to guide what kind of press you pursue and what kind of publications are interesting to you.
What's your opinion regarding versus organic content? You look at both of them as tools, and
yeah, I mean, I think that they're both tools. You can, I think a lot good advice that I've heard from business consultants is that a lot of people skip too fast to paid, where they could probably do quite a lot with organic. But at the same time, sometimes if you can figure out your paid strategy, paid strategy is great for growth. Now, the problem with paid, of course, is that it's only as good as the next time you pay. Or if you do organic growth and you organically build an audience of people who are interested in you, who are subscribe to your newsletter and are following you on social and doing whatever else is happening, that's sustainable. That's something that you have. Whereas paid growth is, you buy a bunch of ads on Facebook, it does whatever it's going to do, and then that's the end of it. You got to pay more. So I've met people who are on a treadmill with paid ads, where if they spend $500,000 and it drives great sales, but now they got to spend another $500,000. So if you can get off that treadmill, I think that sounds pretty good in the long run.